Hello, Internet, and welcome to episode 219er of Verbal Graffiti with your host, Brian Glass, aka the B-Man, the People's Degenerate. I was just making sure my audio was on. That's why I was peeking down at the floor. I have my audio set up that I press with my foot, in case you were wondering. That's sometimes I look down. I'm not looking at Mr. Perfect, my penis. I'm looking at the audio board to make sure that red light is on. Okay, with that preamble out of the way, there's another preamble on top of my first preamble, and this one is a declaration. Not of independence, although we do love the Declaration of Independence, although I don't think I've ever read it. Do know the year it came out, 1776, Philadelphia. Hey, look at the B-Man. I'm an American. I know our documents. This is a declaration of war. Now, we're not pro-war. That is actually the declaration I'm making right now. Everybody involved in this project, Verbal Graffiti, we are anti-war in any form or fashion. We do enjoy war movies. We love war movies. But actual wars, we are anti-war. Now, with that out of the way, we're not a bunch of soy boys, as the conservatives love to use that term, circa like 2021. Not sure if that's still a term they use, the alt-right crowd. But we're pro-murder and anti-war. I know you might want to call me a hypocrite for that, and if you do so, go ahead. Yeah, absolutely. The B-Man, I am a hypocrite. But there is some weird science or some weird logic, I should say, that I can use to defend my stances. The reason why we are pro-murder here at Verbal Graffiti is because murder is personalized. And again, I think I said this in another prior episode, we are pro-murder one. If you're going to murder somebody, make sure it's premeditated and you get somebody that deserves to get got. You get your sentence worth out of a murder. If you're going to murder somebody, get life. Now, don't do this, it was an accidentally shot bullet. I didn't mean to do it. Wrong place, wrong time, and you do 8 to 15. No. If you're going to off somebody, have there be some vengeance in your heart when you shank somebody in the back, or hopefully you do it face to face. But we are anti-war. And the thing with war that's so different than murder is war is not personalized. It's people on two sides, two countries, two governments who send their people out, and we don't know each other. We're going to war with you. There's a line. There's some barbed wire, and we're shooting. We're shooting bombs and missiles, but we don't know each other. We're just doing what the commanders tell us to do. This is all hypothetical because I'm a big old pussy. I'm not going to join the Marines or anything like that. I can't even type without hurting my fingers. So I can't hold a big missile and shoot it somewhere in the Middle East. And that's what we do here in America. I'm 40. Actually, you don't know. Let me tell you, I'm 41. So pretty much my whole life, if you're an American in your 40s, your entire life has been a fight with the Middle East. And if you ask an American, why are we fighting the Middle East for 40 plus years? The typical answer is going to be oil. And maybe on behalf of a country, a nation, a government that I won't mention because I do have a strike. And I don't know why we're fighting Iran. Maybe it has to do with oil. Maybe it has something to do. It's just something about once you get in the White House, you get a hard on for the Middle East. I don't know what it is. The Department of Defense does not consult me with their decision making. Maybe they should. Maybe Americans would be more safer. Maybe the world would be more safer if the United States Department of Defense, the CIA, the FBI, the Green Berets, the Navy SEALs, if they consulted the B-Man on what they should or should not do and who they should not fight. I'm not. I won't say I'm a pacifist. You can't be a pacifist when you just go on a little rant about how you're pro-murder. So I'm certainly not a pacifist, but I'm not a warmonger either. But my entire life. So 84, my first images of war, I was probably 1991, maybe 1990, 1992, was the first Gulf War with the elderly Bush, H.W., and it was on CNN. And then there was footage, but it was green and it was yellow, night vision, and you would kind of see some missiles and blow ups. And I don't really know. It was just I was watching it, 7 years old or so. And wow, what's that? And my parents go, "Oh, those are missiles being dropped in the Persian Gulf." Again, I 41 years old, do not know where the Persian Gulf is. I kind of know where it is on the map, but not exactly. Same with Iraq, same with Afghanistan, same with Libya, same with Somalia. I think Somalia is in Africa, and then now we're in what's the not Iraq, Iran. We're in Iran. Well, we're not in Iran, but we're bombing the hell out of Iran, and they're bombing Israel and other nations. We're going back and forth. And when I say we, not me. And let me tell you why. I don't want to partake in this fight. Let's rephrase the argument. What's his name? Roddy Piper. Once you know the answer, I change the question. That's what we're going to do here. All right, I'm not a Marine. I'm not in the Navy. I'm not in the armed forces. Look at these newly arms. All right, thank goodness I am not in the Marines. Look at this arm. You think this arm is going to win a war? You think this muscle is going to win a war? You think this perverted mind is going to win a war? No, absolutely not. And as we know here, America has never lost a war, ever, because America is still a country. If you lose a war when your country no longer exists. When you use that definition, America's never lost a war. But this arm is not going to help win any future wars or current wars. But let's change the question. I'm watching this, and that's what I do. I go on X, I scroll through, and it's wild. It is wild. It's drone attacks. America has, and all these Western nations, they have these bombs, these planes, this technology, millions, billions of dollars. And really, in the year 2026, war is a drone attack. A $10,000 drone, you fly it over, you drop it on some troops or some buildings or some intel, poof. And I was watching this video. I think this was the Ukraine-Russia war recently on Combat Footage. They have a subreddit called Combat Footage. I never talk about it here on Verbal Graffiti because it's quite graphic. And I'm not sure if YouTube would allow that kind of content. But this Russian military man was walking with his hands on the ground, dragging himself with his hands. His legs were mangled. They weren't blown off, but they were definitely detached. And there was blood, and there was a trail of blood, and he's trying to get underneath a fallen tree. But above him, he can hear the drone, the buzzing of a drone. Imagine the fear you would have if you were crawling on the ground, disabled, legs mangled, and you hear a drone above you, a drone that's already blown up your legs, and here comes another drone. You hear the, you look up, you see the drone, you know your life is over. That fear in that moment, you can't prepare for that until you're in it. And that fear, none of us have felt that yet. Anyway, hopefully none of us have to feel that. But the drone's over them, and he gets to the tree, and he's going to survive. And the human in me is going, I don't know I don't know what to feel. I'm conflicted because in one hand, I see his legs mingle. Well, his life is fucked. This Russian, his life, if he survives, he had no legs. Who knows what else is wrong with him? The surgery, the pain, the rehab. If he's able to get that far, it's going to be years of pain and misery. But he doesn't have to deal with that because the drone, boom, came and it was obliterated. He just melted into the ground. And that's war in 2026. Iran, Israel, the U.S., all these other countries. It's who can make the most drones the quickest and drop them on the enemy. That is war in 2026. So for the U.S., who spent these billions and trillions of dollars on these warships and these missile heads, it's just get some teenager, some 12-year-old who knows how to drive a drone and let him. Imagine having that job. You're the guy or the gal. You're controlling a drone. You're looking at the camera of soldiers hundreds of miles away, and you're dropping the bombs on them to obliterate them, the enemy. Something about that just doesn't sit right with me. There's no honor in that. If we're going to go to war, if we're going to go to battle, toe to toe, and this is all hypothetical here because I'm a big old pussy. If they're, hey, we're going to war, I'm running the other way. You're going to have to drag me to boot camp or on a plane to wherever the hell the war is taking place. But in another universe where the B-Man has honor and bravery and is willing to fight, there should be honor in the fight. If you're the enemy, and I'm American, and I'm an American, and we're going to, let's go face to face with a pistol or a sword or a knife, and let's have at it. You line up your guys, I line up my guys, and we go Braveheart, the Revolutionary War with the drummer. There was honor in that, where we could see each other, where we weren't hiding. It was, hey, here's our team, here's your team. We're going to fight all afternoon, and in the evening, we'll drag the dead bodies and drink some warm wine. That's what war, there was honor. There was honor with that, when we could see each other, eye to eye. One of us lives, one of us dies. But at least the fight was honorable. You know, with a drone attack, what is that? Again, this is weird. It's weird science. It's futuristic, but it's now modern. Who's better with their thumbs, and who can control the wind and know the trajectory to drop the drone or the bomb from the drone? I don't know. What was I getting? Oh yeah, okay. What would it take for the B-Man to join the fight against Iran? And again, by the time this episode comes out, episode 219, the war might be over. Although I highly doubt it. This is March, I believe I'm recording this on March 4th. But if we know anything about wars in the Middle East, Americans, it takes decades. These wars do not end quickly. There's one thing I've learned about U.S. foreign policy in my entire life is wars in the Middle East don't last weeks. They last decades. But what would it take to get the B-Man to go fight in Iran? Or any war for that matter? They're women. Is always the answer. Do I get their women? We fight honorably in a war. A war we didn't choose. We're mere pedestrians. We are citizens. Remember, when you're born, your government gives you a number. Your family gives you a name. The government gives you a number. That lets you know what your government thinks of you. And they think nothing of you. You are just a number that they could use to fight for whatever leverage or whatever oil or whatever machismo, I don't know, whatever legacy the government wants. They're using their citizens to get that. And if you live, great. If not, there's 300 other million of you that we could send to the front line. But to go to the front line, if I was there, and I'm not, because I'm here, verbal graffiti, I want the women. There was a time when that was a given. And not just the women. I want the women. I want your livestock. I want your property. I want your business. I want your bakery. I want your utensils. I want your house. I want it all. Everything you have, I want. I kill you in war. Honorably. Face to face. Hand battle. Combat. I kill you. I get your wife. I get your daughter. I get your livestock. I get your house. That was a given until, I don't know, the last couple hundred years. There was a time, most of history, you go to war, you see each other when you fight. Well, I mean, eye to eye. And whoever wins the battle, to the victor go to spoils. That's a term, that's a phrase that was used, is still used. It doesn't sit right with me that you win a war or you win a battle and you go back to base? What is that? I don't want to sleep in the barracks with a bunch of sweaty, smelly, dehydrated men shitting in a bucket, watching TV, and I'm in some cot with another man sleeping above me, right? And we're in some makeshift tent base, U.S. base, 20 miles from where the battle took place. No, we win the battle. Or if the B-man wins the battle, right, I risked my life. I'm not going back to the U.S. base to eat some slop. No, I'm getting the dog tag of the enemy that I just killed, murdered, honorably. And I'm going to his house. And I'm telling his wife, you are now mine. Your daughter, I'm going to marry her. How old is she? 12? Okay, 6, 7 years, I'm going to marry her. But for the next 6 years, you are my wife. You will cook, you will clean, and I will live here. And we will live a great life. Now again, this is all consensual. I can't fuck with the pulling ladies by their hair and the pillaging of villages. I don't want that. I don't want in my war. What I want this war to be, or any war to be, it's all consensual. You send your husband, your lover, your father, you send him to fight the battle. As the women who stay behind, there is an acknowledgement. If my husband or my father or brother, uncles, family members, if they lose, I got to marry the winners, the victors. The war bride theory, that is a thing. And that, I think, that's what would, it probably still wouldn't get me to go fight the war, but yeah. You got to grease my hand if you want me to go fight in Iran. Great. We get the oil? Fine. Okay, but I want something other than oil. I want a family. I want a wife. I want a wife to be. I want livestock. I want a garden. I want to overlook the mountains of Iran and wherever the battle's taking place. Well, why did this stop? That should always be the case. Well, what's the point of fighting if you're not going to get the enemy's wife and daughter? Why would anybody sign up for the Marines? Yeah, it's great to be an American, but those Iranian babes are hot, and I want them. And if that was in the contract when you sign up for the Marines or the Army, hey, you kill one of theirs, you get his wife. These Eastern Europe, I guess, for some reason, I always associate Eastern Europe with Middle East. I'm terrible with geography. I've never been overseas, but I mean that was a real thing for almost all human history until the last couple hundred years. You knock some, yeah, you win a battle, you get everything that they had. Their family, the house, the community, the town square, it's all yours. Their gold, their silver, their utensils, it's all we need. I'm not going back. I'm not going back to base. Right? I'm going to Iran to conquer their land, their families, their women, their resources. I'm not going back to the U.S. base. I fought with my brothers to the left and the right of me, and we won. We go forward, and we collect the women and the gold and the treasures. P.S. You're not going to get real war updates here at Verbal Graffiti. It's very facetious, but there is a part of me that believes whatever side wins. Hey man. You know, I guess there have been some U.S. troops that have already lost. Whoever killed them should be allowed to come to the U.S. and take their wives and children. All right, let's up the stakes. Let's make this war. Let's make the stakes. Make them hurt. This is a high stakes poker game. This isn't low limit poker. This is no limit poker. Let's do it. That's my thoughts on war. All right, moving forward. Wow, a 20-minute opening. Okay. This next one comes from the subreddit. When your AI girlfriend says, "I'll never say no." I try hard to stay away from AI. That's artificial intelligence, I believe. Mainly because it's being imposed on us by tech billionaires. But I keep seeing these terrifying ads on Facebook, which I only use for local neighbor groups, I promise. Sure you do. Sure you do, buddy. Wondering if you all see them too, ? They're terrifying because I struggle to look away. An extremely curvy yet skinny woman who's wearing barely anything is kneeling and looking up at me, saying things like, "You can do anything you want with me. I'll never say no," unquote. My eyes glue themselves to the screen. For a few seconds, nothing else exists. No stress, no responsibilities, no limits, no chance of rejection. The world is my oyster. Anything is possible. Luckily, I meditated earlier that day. My mind is somewhat calm. I've also worked with my therapist in the past on my attraction to porn. So I recognize that clicking would lead me down a slippery slope. I'm also aware that men are conditioned in this society to be attracted to a very particular female body. Not that I'm completely unlearned of these unfair standards. In other words, thank God I'm 40. It horrifies me to consider what it'd be like to be a 14-year-old boy right now in the year 2026. It's funny that you say you thank God and God is good, all loving, and we thank God too. But you thank God that you're not 14 and that you're now 40. I'm the polar opposite. I'm praying to God. I wish I could be 14 years old in the year 2026 with the technology that's currently available to us, minus drone bombs. We're anti-drone bombing here at Verbal Graffiti, but we've been through that. I'd give up a lot to be 14. I'd give up a sister. I have 3 of them. You choose which one of them I have to give up for me to be 14 years old today. Take her. Take her. Do whatever you want with her. Please don't be violent. But if she has to die, one of my sisters, lovely sisters, for me to be 14, I'd give her up without a second thought. Because to be 14 today, I don't think, and I don't blame them, a 14-year-old today will never know what it was like to be 14 when I was 14. When people my age, if you were 14 in the 90s, It was torturous to be 14. The 14-year-olds today will never understand the concept of dial-up internet. AOL internet. You had the CD cartridge, the CD with the AOL, you have 50 free internet hours that you got at the library or they came in the mail, and a dial-up internet, and you would download porn, but you didn't know what you were downloading. It was just some file on some site, and there was you clicked a button, it downloaded, but it would take all night. You'd go to bed. While it was downloading, you'd wake up in the morning, open up the file, and it would wreck your family computer. And in the 90s, you had a family computer. It was in your living room or your kitchen or the dining room. It was somewhere where it was visible to everybody in the house. So you had to wait till the parents and your siblings were in other rooms or away somewhere so you can quickly wank off in the living room. But inevitably you get viruses, malware. To this day, I still don't know what malware and viruses and how all that works. But in 1999, 1998, any smut that you downloaded from some site, like Pornhub was not a thing in the 90s. You had to go to weird sites, and usually sometimes it was a hit or miss. 50% of the time, you get a pretty sexy scene with Jenna Jameson or someone like her. But then 50% of the time, it was a horse fucking. It was bestiality. It was roulette. Porn in the 1990s. Internet was roulette. You were getting Jenna Jameson or you were getting a horse fucking a German lady. It was wild times. And that's why I would give up. And those were tough times. Lovely times, but treacherous times. Some would say more treacherous than the war between the United States and Iran today. I would not defute that statement. It amazes me that 14-year-olds today graduate high school. Or any boy in high school today graduates whatever grade they're in this year. That might be a more impressive, how shall I phrase it? A more impressive feat than anything that's ever been done in the history of humanity. Please, Michelangelo, move over. A big deal. You did some paintings. Elon Musk, you shot a car in space. Move aside. We have 14-year-olds today with a phone. They have a phone and a MacBook with an external hard drive that has 6 terabytes filled with smut. They have porn on their phone, the hardest core porn of all time that's ever been available, readily available in their pocket 24 hours a day. And these 14-year-olds will go on to pass whatever grade they're in this year. That's impressive. That's awe-inspiring. I know if I was 14 today, I wouldn't graduate. I'd be stuck in middle school. I'd be stuck in 8th grade till the state of Connecticut told me, okay, you're 21, you're in 8th grade. We need to kick you out of the public school system because if you stay here any longer, you're going to be considered a pedophile. So we got to get rid of you. And because there's no way I would graduate today with all this pornography available. All this smut, all these videos is so easily accessible. How are you supposed to study for your midterms when you got a terabyte of smut on your MacBook computer? I wouldn't be able to do it. I would not be able to focus. Imagine being in high school today. Let's say you're a junior in high school and you're somewhat popular, or maybe you're not even popular. But it's somewhat of a small school, let's say less than 1,000 students, and everybody kind of knows everybody, and word gets around. So when May, June come around, you're going to know what girls that are graduating in June, May or June, that are going to immediately do OnlyFans. And ask yourself a question. Honestly, if you were in high school today and you knew the girls in the grades above you were going to start an OnlyFans account as soon as they graduate high school, you look at it. I know I would. My parents would find out about OnlyFans by me using their credit card to buy an OnlyFans account of all the girls in my high school who immediately made an account after they graduated. That's how my parents would find out about what OnlyFans is. And obviously, I'd be grounded all of high school because I was using my parents' credit. This is all hypothetical. If I was a teenager today, but I know how I was as a teenager. And if I was how I was as a little B man in the 90s, in early 2000s, if I was that today, I guess I still kind of am like that. But if I was a teenager today, I'd be stealing credit cards to buy OnlyFans accounts of all the girls I went to high school with. Because that's happening across the country. You bet your bottom dollar. Bet your last dollar bill in your banking account that whatever high school, it's the information is going around. It's traveling, the gossip. Every girl who's starting an OF account, everyone in high school knows, and is going to sign up for her account. And it's going to get around. It's going to get around town. And how can you study for your pre-calculus or your U.S. history, civics, final exam when a girl you were in class with last year is fiddling herself on OF or on the internet or on Chatterbait, Cam Soda? How are you supposed to stay up at night studying when at the same time for $10.99 you could go watch the hottest girl that was in your class last year fiddle her sniz? You're not going to study. You're gonna be gooning to the girls that were in your class last year. So it's when you really think about that and all the options for smut, and they're actually girls that you know personally, you've had conversations with, that you know what they smell like. You've walked by them in the hallway. You know what their perfume is. You know what their pheromones are. You know what their voice, you know what they're like in real life. But then you get to see the naked, exotic life on the internet. And then you want me to study and do well in school and also play sports and extracurricular activities? It's not going to happen. But it is happening today. There are boys in high school, middle school, 6th through 12th grade, who have all this smut available to them, and yet they get good grades. They play sports. They're part of clubs. They work part-time jobs. We got to start giving them some credit. Right? Instead of getting a diploma, you really should get the Medal of Honor. The fact that you were able to stay focused enough to graduate high school with all that smut at your sticky fingertips, it's awe-inspiring. We do need to make a new medal, a new award, They should get something. They should get something more than just a diploma. The boys in high school these days. Because I know if I was a teenager today, I would not graduate. I wouldn't do anything. I'd be looking at smut 24/7, gooning. I'd get suspended. I'd get kicked out of school for gooning in class. How can you not? How can you imagine you're a senior in high school? And there was a girl in your class last year who's a freshman in college. Let's say she's at the local state college. You know her, and she has an OF account. That would make my mind, boom, boom, boom. It'd be a cartoon brain. You know, cartoon Looney Tunes where the heart beats in and out of you. That's what my brain, I would not be able to focus on real life knowing I could go on the internet and see a girl that was in my class a few months ago, and now she's 18. Wow. the burden of being a teenage boy today and having to shut all that out and still do your classwork and still work a part-time job and do whatever activities and go to college and possibly get employed. I mean, I can't say enough about how impressed I am with teenagers today. And all the other distractions and all the other vices, predatory, with the vapes and the alcohol and the drugs and social media, it's harder. I'll make this statement, and I really do believe this isn't just a BS statement for laughter. It's more challenging to be a teenager today than it's ever been in the history of humanity. Being a teenager in the year 2026 and the 2020s, I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy, and I have lots of enemies. I opened this episode up, 219, advocating for murder of people you don't like. That's where I'm at, and I'm not wishing being a teenager. There's no rest for teenagers in 2026. There's no room you can go to and turn on a CD or a cassette tape or watch the TV. You go home and you go on social media. There's no escape from the bullying. There's no escape from the smut. There's no escape from trying to tiptoe around the IEDs that could blow up. You blow up your spot and your status in your class. Bam, man, it would be fun, though, to have all that smut available. But I wouldn't be able to handle it. Teenager B-man, I would not be able to handle how readily available smut is today when I was a teenager. So to everybody else, besides the teenagers, boys who are getting their work done today, go suck a fat one.